Hey there, it's Jody. I host the show that you're listening to right now, which has been going for 5 years and is gearing up for its biggest year ever next year as we head towards America250. And I'm here to tell you that we are only able to do this and grow and be ambitious at a time when public media and radio and podcasting are in a really tough spot. We've only been able to do this because we are part of the Radiotopia community. And more specifically, because listeners to this show and other shows in the Radiotopia collective have stepped up to become members and supported Radiotopia directly. Being a part of Radiotopia means not just that we get some support from Radiotopia, but also that we are in community with other hosts and shows who I deeply respect and admire, like Nate DeMeo of The Memory Palace, Rishi Hirway of Song Exploder, the great Avery Trufelman of Articles of Interest, not to mention all the new incredible shows like Try Hard and Proxy. These are some of the best radio makers in the world, and we're all in it together. This community spirit also extends to the fundraiser itself. We split the money that is raised during our annual fundraiser, which is where you come in. Your generous gifts don't just support our team, but they cast a vote for this kind of media. Independent, plucky, ambitious, which, by the way, is how I describe you. Yeah, you. Independent, plucky, ambitious. Doesn't that sound nice? It would mean so much if you invest in our community of creators by making your tax-deductible donation very easy at our website, thisdaypod.com. And two more important things. As a bonus, when you donate before the end of the year, December 31st, your gift is going to be matched by a generous PRX donor. So double your impact right now. Also, when you donate, you will be invited to our holiday mixtope on December 4th, where all the producers, we're all going to get together and share these little audio love letters to each other, and you'll be able to listen in and join in on the community. It's going to be a really great event. We're very excited to try it, but it only works if a bunch of people like you contribute and join in. So head over to thisdaypod.com. You will see a link right there. That's thisdaypod.com to support Radiotopia. You are a huge part of this community. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
There's nothing like finding that perfect gift for someone, but what to do when you can't decide what that is? Macy's has you covered. Not only do they have all the trendiest items of the year, but they also have free personal stylists who can help you match them with that extra special someone. So you can feel excited, not anxious watching them open something unexpected, a gift you would have never thought of yourself. Skip the stress and let a personal stylist scour all of Macy's categories and brands for you. Need it shipped? They'll handle that too. With Macy's Black Friday sale happening now, you can get all your holiday shopping done at huge savings all in one place. Book your personal styling session today at Macy's online or in store. It's the best gift you could give yourself this holiday season.
Let's talk for a minute about something people don't always love talking about: money. Like a lot of you, I've always stressed about my finances, and I've also stressed about stressing about my finances. The picture just never quite comes into focus. But that started to change for me about a month ago when I started using Monarch Money. I finally loaded in all my accounts, debts, transactions. It was quick, it was actually kind of fun, and suddenly everything made sense. It's like I was staring at a magic eye poster, and finally it clicked and I saw that sailboat. I can't afford the sailboat, but I think you get the metaphor. Feel organized and confident in your finances with Monarch, an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clear interface on your laptop or on your phone. Just in the last month since using Monarch, I've been able to see where my money's coming from, where it's going, and from there I've been able to budget, set goals, and have real conversations about what matters most. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use code THISDAY at monarch.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarch.com with code THISDAY. Hello and welcome to This Day, a history show from Radiotopia. My name is Jody Avirgan. We are heading into Thanksgiving week here in the United States, and Thanksgiving evokes a deeper history of this country of ours, and people maybe think back to the Revolutionary War era. But one thing that people might not be talking about around their dinner table, if they're talking Revolutionary War history, is New York City Evacuation Day. But that is what we are going to talk about today. It's the day, November 25th, 1783, when British troops finally left New York City as the Revolutionary War finally came to a close. Evacuation Day is a big thing still in Boston. We've done an episode about that, but it is largely forgotten in New York City. That wasn't always the case, though. Up until around World War I, around this time of year, people did mark the anniversary of New York's Evacuation Day, and then Thanksgiving kind of took over as the thing that people commemorate. I guess you can only have one moment of history to remember in the last week of November, but we will discuss how those holidays kind of shifted on each other. But let's go and relive that day, Evacuation Day, 1783, in New York City. Some incredible details of life in New York City in the years before British troops finally left. A brutal period, prisoner ships off the coast of Manhattan, food shortages and disease and chaos, lots more. Here to discuss, as always, Nicole Hammer of Vanderbilt and Kellie Carter-Jackson of Wellesley. Hello there.
Hello, Jody.
Hey there.
I think we should disclose here that we are recording this right before Ken Burns' documentary about the Revolutionary War comes out, but this episode is going to come out afterwards, and I would not be surprised if there is something about Evacuation Day in that. But anyway, we've been wanting to get to this for a while, and I should offer a little bit of background. I mean, it is this interesting thing where Yorktown, 1781, the Battle of Yorktown, is kind of the last fighting of the Revolutionary War. And then the war doesn't formally end until the Treaty of Paris, 1783. And that's really that kind of 2-year period that we want to focus on. And then, of course, the troops finally leave in 1783. But there's this very strange interim period where New York City in particular is this like kind of brutal, devastated, sort of just like waiting to see what happens limbo kind of place. I mean, it's really... Some of these scenes are remarkable. And they're sort of, I don't know, Niki, would you say that they're sort of like a occupied city as the war winds down? It's weird.
Absolutely, that's what they are. I mean, it's a lot for the science fiction nerds out there. If you watched Battlestar Galactica and you have that image in your head of an occupied place where people are brutalized by the occupiers, I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about.
And/or might be also another reference for people who more recently.
If people want more updated references, that's fine. Yes, we can do and/or. We could also do other periods of U.S. history. I mean, there really is this kind of fallow spot in stories about war between liberation and actually the end of the war. You see that with like D-Day in 1944, and then you still have bombings and death and immiseration that last long after the fighting has stopped.
I mean, sorry to interrupt, but it kind of makes me realize like that's actually what Juneteenth is marking, right? There's this moment where like, this formal thing, but then no, life still goes on under these
and there's still people being imprisoned and still people being held in bondage and still being starved and all of those things until they're delivered.
Yeah.
And in a place like New York City, I mean, Manhattan had been occupied by the British since November of 1776. And even before then, it was known as Torytown. This is a place where there were tons of loyalists. Loyalists move into the city as revolutionaries flee. And the people who stay behind who aren't loyalists, the patriots who stay behind, are living under occupation. And there are other patriots who are being held in prison ships in the harbors around New York City. There's a tremendous amount of death that happens on those ships. I think 10,000 people die, largely of disease, but nonetheless, they're being held in these horrendous conditions. Bones of prisoners are like washing up on shore for years, even after these prison ships go away.
Gosh.
And the mortality rate in New York City is upwards of like 60 to 70% for Americans who are in New York during the Revolution.
That's insane.
Those are wild numbers. And I think it speaks to, again, like the immiseration that is happening in the city. Britain has no reason, and British soldiers and occupiers have no reason to keep the city comfortable and livable. And so, like, nothing's happening. There's no commerce happening in the city. The courts aren't open. Nobody's removing the trash. The schools are closed. The colleges are closed. There are no trees left in the city.
They've cut down everything. Yeah. They've cut down everything.
For firewood?
They need it for fuel, for firewood. And then once they've cut down all the trees, they start uprooting the fence posts and burning those. Yeah. So by the time the British are actually leaving, this is a refugee city, it's an occupied city, and it is a city that has been functionally destroyed for all intents and purposes.
We'll find a time maybe next year during our 250th series to return to these prison ships that were off of Manhattan. But it's kind of remarkable. More people died on those ships than died in any of the fighting, in the actual Revolutionary War. I mean, it's kind of remarkable. So, okay, you've painted us a good Andor-esque, Battlestar Galactica-esque picture of New York City at the time. What are the other kind of political contours? I mean, obviously they're heading towards the Treaty of Paris, which will formally end the war. And then part of that agreement is, okay, British troops need to get out of New York City. Should we talk here also about the sort of debate over formerly enslaved people in the city as well? Because that plays into this as well.
Yeah, about 4,000 enslaved people are in New York City. And if they participated and fought for the British, they were promised their freedom. And so a lot of people flee to the British side as fast as they can. People fight in Lord Dunmar's army, which was known as his famous Ethiopian regiment. And they're believing that even though the war is over and it has not sort of been victorious for them, they're still going to get their freedom. They're still going to get liberation. And so they're waiting to sort of figure out, okay, well, where do we go after all of this? A lot of people actually don't go back to Great Britain because they can't afford the passage. A lot of people actually go to Canada, to Nova Scotia, to other places that are outside of the United States, but closer to get to. But you do have a lot of Black people that are kind of in this political, legal limbo of how do I prove or how do I obtain my freedom? Because people like Washington were really eager to re-enslave them and to not hold to this bargain that the British had laid out.
George Washington was not an opponent of slavery. And when the people he enslaved escaped, he hunted them down. Yes. So it is no surprise that he is trying to re-enslave people who have found freedom with the British. And it's a reminder of something we've talked about a few different times on this show, was that while for white colonists who were on the Patriot side, the war represented freedom, for enslaved people, the British represented freedom. Canada represented freedom. Freedom wasn't to be found in these new colonies. And so the war meant different things to different people.
And so just to put a fine point on that this piece of the negotiation here, Britain is kind of refusing to return formerly enslaved people who they had been promised freedom to. And the new country, the Americans, are saying, no. We get them back, and they are going to be re-enslaved, correct?
Yeah.
George Washington, in particular, as you mentioned, wants his slaves back, too.
Yeah, he's literally, hey, can you keep an eye out for anyone that might have belonged to me, my former property? He has, at least that I recall when I was doing research about this, maybe 18 to 21 enslaved people that run away during fighting, and he's sending slave catchers after them while he's also fighting the American Revolution. So it's pretty crazy. But to the credit of the British, I mean, they talk about how this would be a, quote, dishonorable violation of the public faith to return any enslaved person, particularly that fought for the British, back into slavery. It would be a major betrayal. So, but I mean, we should say, listen, life is not much better for enslaved people who live in Nova Scotia. I mean, they're not going to paradise. They're not going to utopia or anything like that. But freedom is still freedom. And that's what they were entitled to.
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Mike Troy, host of the American Revolution podcast on the Airwave Media Network. This podcast is the origin story of the United States, how we went from colonies ruled by a king to the democratic republic that we have today. The American Revolution podcast tells the story of the revolution from beginning to end. Please subscribe for free. We're available on all major podcast platforms. I hope you will join me today on the American Revolution podcast.
You know about HelloFresh, right? HelloFresh, the #1 meal kit in America, making home cooking easier with chef-crafted recipes and fresh ingredients delivered straight to your door. You know about HelloFresh. But something you may not know is that this fall, they have completely taken things to a new level. HelloFresh has doubled its menu. That's right, doubled its menu. You can now choose from 100 options each week, including new seasonal dishes and recipes from all around the world. And healthier ones too. Recipes featuring seafood and high protein. I recently cooked scallops with asparagus and potatoes. I'd never really cooked scallops at home, but they tasted great, were fun to make, and boom, just like that, I'm now someone who can prepare scallops at home. As we head into colder weather and home cooking season, it is time to check out the best way to cook, which just got better. Go to HelloFresh.com/thisday10FM now to get 10 free meals plus a free item for life. 1 box per active subscription, free meals applied as a discount on the first box. New subscribers only, varies by plan. Once again, that's HelloFresh.com/thisday10FM to get 10 free meals and a free item for life. This day is brought to you by Quince. Look, you have heard me talk about all the amazing luxury clothing you can get at fair prices from Quince. I'm wearing my very own cable knit sweater right now as I record this. In many parts of the country, the weather is turning colder. It is time to get cozy with sweaters and jackets and Italian wool coats. You can get all of that for great prices on Quince. But can I also direct your attention to a section on their website called Home? That's right, it is not just clothing. And if you want to get cozy, how about a cashmere blanket throw for just $129? There are pillows, blankets, sheets, towels, linens. Quince has it all. You can upgrade your look and your home or apartment. It's time to step into the holiday season with layers made to feel good, look polished, and last. All from Quince. Perfect for gifting or keeping for yourself. Go to quince.com/thisday for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/thisday to get free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/thisday. Okay, so let's turn to Evacuation Day itself. This is the day that had been negotiated as the day when British troops would formally leave and the city would be formally handed over to Americans. Washington is on the scene. He's been negotiating all along. Like, I know I want my slaves back as part of this, and the British have been resisting. What else goes into the kind of nuts and bolts of handing over a city? What goes down on that day?
I mean, this is so major because at the time, because the British still occupied New York City, their flags are flying everywhere. And so George Washington cannot march into the city without the American flag being hoisted up to really symbolically and structurally show that, like, this is now American territory. This is now a new country, a new nation. And one of the petty things that the British do before they leave is, like, they grease the flagpole in an act of defiance. So it's like, oh, you want to take down our flag? Try to get at it. And as you can imagine, trying to climb up a greased pole is a fool's errand.
Philadelphians can imagine.
Oh, my gosh.
I was going to say, as a Philadelphia Eagles fan, the true heart of American revolutionary spirit, we know how to climb a greased pole.
Little did you know that was the Evacuation Day tradition.
I suppose so, yeah. But
so
there
guys slapped on some cleats and he ultimately makes it up. And
well, no, so
down.
there is, I don't know if I have the person's name, but there is, a legend apparently of someone who finally does manage to clamber up the pole and rip down the British flag and replace it with the U.S. flag. This is at the very, very southern tip of Manhattan at what was then known as Fort George in the Battery. They replaced the flag. Yeah, a young sailor does it. They replaced the flag. That's important. What else? I mean, obviously, troops leave, right?
The troops leave. And as the troops are leaving, Washington and all of his men are marching in. And this is where it's kind of awkward to me, because it's meant to be this victorious parade, if you will, but everyone looks beleaguered, everyone looks defeated, everyone looks as though they've just come through a war, because they have. And so the idea that New York is now this sort of rehabilitated city that's like a city of lights is just not the case. But even still, people are still trying to, I don't know, put on a good face and still like show respect to the soldiers who did fight for them and make this a day of celebration. But it's kind of hard when you think, if you look in the background, everything is in New York City still kind of busted.
Yeah.
Yeah, the city is desolated. And I think, Kellie, that's exactly right, that the British troops who are leaving dress to the nines. They are, their little red outfits are burnished and they're like trotting out of the city. And the revolutionary troops that are coming in, they're wearing rags. They haven't been fed well, right? They're owed a lot of money. But there was a woman who was watching it, and she notes this distinction between the two. And one of the things that she says about the U.S. troops is the troops that marched in were ill-clad and weather-beaten and made a forlorn appearance. But then they were our troops. And as I looked at them and thought upon all they had done for us, my heart and my eyes were full. And that idea of this, like,
now that's nice, yeah.
Your like ragtag army beat this empire. That's actually symbolic of, the little guy having won.
Yeah.
And the
Who
other
doesn't love an underdog story? Who
Yeah.
doesn't love,
But it also, it ties into something that I do think the Ken Burns documentary is going to sort of, I've heard him talk about this being one of the things he wants to inject back into the discourse. And we even talked about this when we talked about the Liberty polls. But, that the revolution was not about, high-minded folks inside the halls of power wearing wigs and giving oratory. It was scrappy and it was brutal. And to see these troops come back, one other observer talks about, like, these very men left New York City a few years ago as like wealthy and aristocratic and, clean and healthy. And they return ragged and worn and brutalized. And I think that's a really important kind of thing to remember about the nature of this war.
The other important symbolism here is that when Washington finally does ride into the city, he rides into the city alongside the governor of New York, George Clinton. And this is going to be of a piece with how the early United States navigates the fact that it's coming out of a war, that their first president is a general. They need to make it clear that, like, this isn't a military-led government, that this is a civilian-led government. And Washington is going to have to navigate those tensions throughout the rest of his time in public life. And this is one of those moments when he's, like, making a decision. It's not just going to be me on my white horse. It's going to be me next to the civilian leader. And that is going to be, like, a tip of the hat to the kind of world we want to create in the aftermath.
Yeah. So they have the ceremony. The flag goes up on the greased pole. The troops come back in. And then I think they cap the day, no surprise, by drinking.
Washington,
with a toast.
Yeah. So,
to be clear, they probably started the day that way.
Yeah, that's true. Not just one toast, though, Kellie, right? So they all go to Franz's Tavern, which is, very still there. I was there just a few weeks ago for an event, but it's, still in Lower Manhattan.
When was this tavern built? My goodness, it's still there?
Oh yeah, it's
wild.
but it's it is one of the classic pre-Revolutionary War spots in New York City that people go to. And it was I think the owner of the tavern was sort of maybe spying a little bit on behalf of Washington, was friendly with Washington, was providing some provisions for Washington, was kind of seen as an ally. And so that, no surprise, they go there for their big dinner to celebrate. And they have, apparently, according to contemporary accounts, they have 13 different toasts over the course of the night. Do we want to read all 13?
Yes,
Some of them are sort of weird. Okay, so the first toast is
good.
Okay, the first toast, I'll read the first 3, and then you guys pick it up.
Right.
The first toast is to the United States of America. That's great.
Woo!
Makes sense. Yeah,
Yep.
kick it off. The
Cheers.
second is to His Most Christian Majesty. Sure. The third is to the United Netherlands. Yeah, okay. Let's give a little, deference to where New York's origins here. The fourth one goes a little weird here.
Yeah, it's to the King of Sweden, which, okay, shout out your allies.
Yeah.
But let's get those kings' names out of our mouths when we're, like, toasting the evacuation of the British and trying to establish a republic.
Then they toast the Continental Army. Then they toast the armies of France who had helped the United States. They toast the memory of the heroes who have fallen for our freedom, military children. What else is on the list of toasts?
I love
At this
this
point,
one.
it's getting a little slurry, I think.
Yeah.
This one's a good one. May justice support what courage has gained. Here, here.
That's a banger.
That's a good toast.
Banger. I was like, I need that up on a wall somewhere.
The next one is the vindicators of the rights of mankind in every quarter of the globe. You know what? These guys write well in the sauce.
Yeah,
they're picking it up.
It is true. These toasts get longer and wordier as the night goes on. It's true.
Yes.
But also more utopian, right?
Yes.
May America be an asylum to the persecuted of the earth. You could use a little bit of that.
May a close union of the states guard the temple they have erected to liberty.
Okay.
I mean, Liberty, man.
Here, here.
And then
Cheers.
the final quote, the final toast is, may the remembrance of this day be a lesson to princes. Basically, no
Shout out to
kings.
this day.
Right?
Yeah, and this day. Yeah. So there you go. 13 toasts. And that sort of concludes the festivities. Washington does stick around for about a week or so to shore things up. But that's kind of what goes down on that day. Let me ask you then, why is it that, Evacuation Day in Boston is a huge thing? We've done episodes about it. I've lived in New York for a long time. I don't think New York City's Evacuation Day is up there in the public memory as much as maybe you would think it would be.
No day off school.
There's no day off school.
I think it's important to note that it was a big deal at first. At first, Evacuation Day was something that everyone celebrated, and you can imagine why, right? This was the day they were liberated from the misery of occupation, which had gone on for, again, like 7 years. That they would ring the church bells, raise the flag, probably go through those 13 toasts again. There'd be big ceremonies. So it was a day that, as the identity of this new nation is being forged, New York is remembering / celebrating its role in the revolution.
There's stories that the descendant of the guy who climbed the pole would reenact it from time to time.
I love that.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I guess when that guy
that.
goes, then the celebration starts to die down.
Yeah. And, the Civil War does not help. I mean, I think that... Like when you're at war for 4 years with yourself, it's kind of hard to celebrate the evacuation of the British when you've worried about Confederates trying to burn down the city.
And there's an interesting newspaper quote from the 1830s, a good amount of time later, as the sort of first generation of memory starts to fade, or even the second. Someone writes in a paper, why do New Yorkers celebrate this Evacuation Day annually? Isn't it as well to forget that an enemy once had possession of your city? And I suppose I get that, but I also think a lot of anniversaries are about when we kick the bums out, right?
Yeah.
The historian in me says no, absolutely not. You remember everything.
And fair cop, but let people celebrate if they want to celebrate.
Yeah.
I think that the reason it gets pushed out is, you mentioned Thanksgiving earlier. Your Macy's Day Parade is not going to be as cool if it's just a bunch of balloons of red coats being chased by Continental soldiers. There's no place for Snoopy there. So that I think is a big part of it. The U.S. gets closer to the British, right? The British become U.S. allies by the end of the 19th century. And so it's kind of rude to celebrate kicking their asses, right?
Certainly by the end of World War I and World War II, it's not very nice.
Still cringe. But also, what is Boston full of? Irish people.
Yeah.
Who manages to continue hating the British long after the U.S.-British alliance? Irish people.
I buy this
theory.
I buy this theory that's why Boston has held on to a thing that held on to commemorating a moment where we told the British to kick rocks. I absolutely agree.
Yeah.
There are some people still holding the flame. Our friends of the Fellow History podcast, the Bowery Boys, certainly have done some stuff about this. And there is a group that still gets together every year, at least as of a couple years ago. The Sons of the Revolution of the State of New York hold an annual evacuation dinner down at Francis Tavern. And it has...
Is this the event you were at?
This is not the event I was at, but I did visit... but upstairs at the tavern, I did poke my head, and this group runs a little kind of revolutionary museum. It's really cool down there, and it's pretty amazing to be able to pop your head into that. And there's still a lot of that stuff down there, but to know that tavern has been in operation.
That's going on my to-do
since that
list.
moment.
When I'm in the city, I'm going to just see it and have a drink.
It's pretty cool. And it's also the part of the city where it's so easy to get lost because you realize like they made this before there was any notion of a grid or anything like that, all these crazy streets. But yeah, it's nice to wander around down there. Okay, well, we will leave it there. So whether folks decide to talk about Evacuation Day or Thanksgiving at the dinner table this Thursday, we wish you a happy last week of November. Nicole Hemmer, thanks to you as always.
Thank you, Jody.
And Kellie Carter-Jackson, thanks to you.
My pleasure.
This Day is a proud member of Radiotopia, a network of independent, artist-produced podcasts. Don't forget to sign up for our America250 Watch newsletter. Every Thursday, members get exclusive access to analysis and information about the upcoming semi-quincentennial, commentary from our team, and a list of fascinating things that happened that week throughout history. Join in, find out lots more at thisdaypod.com. You can also follow This Day Pod on Instagram, Blue Sky, and YouTube. Jacob Feldman is our researcher. Brittany Brown is our editor. My name is Jody Avirgan. See you soon.
Radiotopia.